There's a tendency among professionals sometimes to overstate and emphasize taxes. They are important, but they are not necessarily what drives people's decisions. I had clients teach me that in a couple of ways when I was early in my career. There was one time that really stands out in my memory. I was a young financial planner. I just learned all about the estate tax and how if the older family members moved wealth down to their heirs at earlier points, you could shift a lot of future growth out of the tax system and save tons of money. We had a very wealthy client. This was when I was still at Arthur Andersen. I went out to meet with that client and his attorney. He was already probably in his 70s and retired. And I watched. It was interesting to see the attorney settle herself on the sofa. She took off her shoes. She sat back and just to watch the show. She knew what was going to happen. She'd worked with this client for years. So I explained everything I knew about how this client could save lots of money in estate taxes by shifting money to his children and grandchildren. And he listened very politely. And he said, "Thank you very much. I'm going to leave everything to my wife. I've already provided for my children." This was a decision he had already made. His lawyer had already discussed it with him. She knew what I was going to say and how he was going to respond. And that's fine. He had done what he felt he needed to do for his children. He had other intentions for his wife, who was not the mother of his children. And those were what mattered to him, and what mattered to him was what was important. There was another incident when I was also in the early days of my career where I had a similar conversation with another client. This client had come into control of a family business that had actually been started by his father. And so I went through a similar explanation of the importance of moving funds down generations at the earliest point so you could get future growth out of the taxable estate. And this client looked at me and said, "I don't want to give a lot of money to my children because if they have more money than I do, they won't respect me." So I absorbed that, and whether I agreed with that or how I felt about that was not important. What mattered was that this was how this client felt, and any planning I was going to be able to do with him had to take into account his situation and his family dynamics.